I can only speak for me. And so that means every once in a while, I like to have some fans on. And in this case, our pal, Nick Viall, Packers superfan, joins me once again to check in on where he is with Jordan Love and his development, the Joe Barry hot seat watch, and this Packers team, a new look Packers team. Are they meeting fan expectations? We talked to at least one fan. You can give me your feedback, of course. All of that on today's show.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts. You will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how, thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Nick Viall, as I mentioned, he is back on the show. Always fun to check in with him. He has got all the takes. And I just, I like talking ball with him. So we are going to do that today on the show. We'll be back Monday and we'll kick off a normal week. Of course, no show to talk about on Monday. I'm very glad about that because at this moment, whether or not you can hear it, you might be able to hear that I sound a little different. I have been near death all this week. Luckily, we recorded Zayu doing earlier in the week because you won't be able to hear it then. But man, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I've been hurting, man. I've been hurting. So This is my week to get right as well. We will be back next week. Normal run of play with everything as we get you set for the Packers and the Denver Broncos. Let's get into it with Nick. Joining me now back again, a return appearance. Now we're multi-return appearances now. Nick Viall is with me. And Nick, I felt like I just was so... It seemed so familiar to me for months. I kept hearing on all of these shows, people using these relationship metaphors to talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. And I'm like, wait a second. Nick and I have been doing that on this show like for 2 years now. And it was actually kind of great to hear you on Good Morning Football, get a chance to share with the world what we have been talking about on the show for a long time. I just had to share that I thought that was really great that you got a chance to do that because I felt like everyone else was stealing your bid here.
Well, Peter, it's fun to be back on, and yeah, man, like it's always been fun talking Rodgers with you, and but Rodgers is an interesting guy. I for one, speaking of him, it was heartbreaking that injury, because like, listen, I'll always be appreciative of Rodgers. I feel like you and I are in similar camps. Like we've been willing to criticize the guy. And I, for one, I feel like, I don't know if you've ever said this, but like when it came to like rooting for Aaron Rodgers' legacy, like I was ahead of that charge, like there was a point where I was like, I wanted him to win more Super Bowls than Brady. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like rooting for his legacy. So I was always a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, but like, yeah, he's like, he gave us some reasons as fans to like get frustrated at times. And, you and I have been willing to discuss it. Some people aren't, but I also I think he's been great as he has been and continues to be a pretty great ex-Green Bay quarterback, he's pretty he says positive things about the franchise, generally speaking. He's supportive of Jordan Love.
Yeah.
That's
the big one. That's the big difference too between him and Favre.
Yeah. He's checking in, he's a quirky guy, but he's been a stellar ex Green Bay Packer. And, as a Green Bay Packer fan, losing the first round pick sucked, but like, I was really hoping for the drama of like, I didn't know how to feel watching Rodgers. I suspected I was really kind of hoping to like root against him, having a vested interest as a Packer fan that like we'll get a better draft pick.
Do you
And
think
that
your
would,
your
and, and
perspective will
honestly,
change now that it's not gonna be tied to draft picks? Like, are you gonna be more into cheering for him next year now that we know the compensation is not going to be tied to Jets' performance?
I'm less excited for it. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll be a year removed, from like just Aaron Rodgers not being my quarterback. I
Right.
think I'll just, the story is just far less compelling. So I'm definitely I'm sad that we didn't get that drama, which honestly, given the state of the Green Bay Packers at the moment, I could use something else.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. You were part of the Aaron Rodgers of it all. And I thought this was always unfair that it was like if you were excited to see Jordan Love, it meant you had to be anti Aaron Rodgers. Not always the case. I know you were excited to see Jordan Love. I was excited to see Jordan Love. First couple weeks, our excitement seemed to be justified. Last 2 weeks, a little bit less so. So where are you right now in terms of where Jordan Love is with your expectations? Are you preaching patience? Are you nervous? Like, where are you with this?
I'm really glad you asked, Peter, because I've been thinking about this for
It's
many
been
days.
percolating on your mind.
I was like, you know what? Honestly, I'm grateful you asked because I was like, like most of the people who follow me on social media in general haven't been interested in my football takes. They're more interested in like my pop culture and
Right.
relationship discussion. But I
Which are
have
also
used,
great for anyone that wants to be involved in that.
yeah, but I have recently used Twitter as a platform to just like mouth off about my Green Bay Packers thoughts. And so I was gonna make like a little video about this, but anyways, I digress. My overthought is like, listen, I have been super excited about this team. I really like the youth movement. I think I'm really excited about the young talent at our skill position, wide receiver and tight end. And overall, I really like from a 30,000-foot level, like thinking long term. I love this idea that our young quarterback and our young skill position players can grow together and all these like hand signals and like hidden secrets and shorthand stuff that all these NFL greats talk about. Like we have the opportunity to build this like what seems like a really talented, intelligent, loves football group that can grow together. That's fun. However, I think
I
like
was waiting for the
I
butt.
think
I knew the butt was coming.
I think like most of us Green Bay Packer fans that came in fairly optimistic and thinking, hey, wait, like I think maybe we can compete for a division. Like our defense maybe they'll actually show up. Like our offensive line, we're gonna have a great offensive line. We have Aaron Jones, so like we'll run, and we'll have our growing pains. But like we all know a lot of that hasn't panned out. And I'm thinking, yeah, Jordan Love, definitely the past couple games, there's been a couple like, oh, like as a believer, you're like, oh, like am I but like how can we really, I get to my point, and I'm not a football evaluator, but like I would love to know for someone who knows how to evaluate players, how can you really evaluate Jordan Love while he's playing with all these young positions? Because what's crazy, I was thinking about this as well, I don't know what the Packers' expectations are of Jordan Love. Obviously, it seems like they have a reasonable amount of leash in terms of like his performance and stats, but like they are asking a lot of Jordan Love as a leader in his
Sure.
first year as a quarterback. Yes, he plays quarterback, but aside from that, but like there is no veteran leadership on this offense. Like especially now that David Bakhtiari's, it was him and like, he's not there,
It's
but
Aaron
like,
Jones, and he's hurt too.
and he's hurt too, but still, but like they think a lot of him. So there's a lot he had. And I think we have to appreciate his calmness. I think we have to appreciate his leadership that he's still shown. He doesn't look petulant or he doesn't look confused. He looks, a little annoyed at himself when he, messes up. But all I keep hearing about, like, with all the experts on Twitter who watch tape is that, like, these receivers are going the wrong way all the time. And that so much about an offense is like a subtlety of, like, cutting your route off, like, 2 feet makes a world of difference,
Yeah.
Our offensive line, like it went from like being like, maybe do we have the best passing offensive line in the NFL to like, is our offensive line a weakness? Like, I don't know. You watch tape. How did that happen, Peter? That's a question for you. What did Zach Tom went from like maybe like an all pro to like, is Zach Tom like still developing? Like, what happened? And then like, yeah, you got Aaron Jones' injury. He's supposed to be our best player. So like, I think we just got to chill out. And I don't say that as like a biased Jordan Love supporter, because I am, but I think that's a reasonable argument to say that, like, how can we really know?
All right, more with our friend Nick Viall here on Locked On Packers. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jase Medical offers the Jase case. The Jase case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you peace of mind so that you are not just hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. I'll give you an example. I was abroad last summer and someone I was with needed medication. We were not sure how we were going to get it. Jase Medical makes sure you have the medication in hand. Jase Medical is simple. They handle everything from the online evaluations to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared. Get yourself a Jase case. Get $20 off on these life-saving antibiotics today from Jase Medical by using my code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. And thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. Locked On is kicking up our coverage with Locked On NFL Kickoff live each Friday. Locked On will go live at 2 p.m. East on every Locked On NFL YouTube channel. Hosts Anitra Batiste, Jarvis Davis, Kyle Krabs, they will all break down every game on the NFL slate to get you ready for your team's matchup, your fantasy lineups, your betting angles, all you need. It's a great thing this week, especially because the Packers don't play. So we're not getting ready for a game on this show. Plus, get the in-depth local analysis from our stable of NFL hosts around the country who know these teams better than anyone else. This is better than any preseason or pregame show you're going to watch on a Sunday. I promise you. Find Locked On NFL Kickoff live every Friday, 2 p.m. East on any Locked On NFL YouTube channel.
And I think his accuracy is a concern. He's got to fix that. But if Josh Allen can do it, so can Jordan Love.
There's a ton to unpack there, and luckily we get time to unpack it. I think you're right, and I think I underestimated. I'll speak for myself. I underestimated how much needed to go into dealing with these young players. Like I was like you. I was so excited to see all these young guys, to see Jaden Reed and Luke Musgrave and all these dudes, and then when it's 3 and out and Luke Musgrave's running over the sideline and Matt LaFleur is MFing him as he comes off the sideline, I'm so like, okay, yeah, this is what's going to happen. Like sometimes this is just what's going to happen. You got to live with some of that stuff, but that's why you have to preach patience. I would love to get Matt LaFleur like a pint of Jim Beam into him and just like sort of get the reel on what his expectations for Jordan Love were. I don't know. Like, I think that's really important too, right? Like we have to know what to set expectations and then know if he's meeting expectations. It seems like they had to know, given the way they set this team up, that there were going to be some bumps in the road, right?
I honestly feel like Matt LaFleur was like kind of like you and I. I think he had every reason to think his offensive line was going to be something he could lead behind. I think he thought he's going to have Aaron Jones. I think he expected a bump from Romeo and Christian, and I think maybe he got a little cocky with his coaching ability. And you throw that all together, and I think he's just as disappointed and frustrated as we are. Which I'm glad, but yeah, big picture wise, I don't think the front office is panicking at all. I think Matt LaFleur is as frustrated as he should be. But yeah, I'm definitely not hitting I'm definitely not hitting the panic button. I mean, I think we have unprecedented youth. I mean, it's fun. Like, someone who used to play like the Madden franchises, it's fun to build a team and like whatever. And so we've been spoiled over big picture wise as fans. We've been winners. You know, the Super Bowls have been disappointments. I hear you there, but like I think we can all like have a year where we may not compete, but there's so much to like be excited about. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to care about that like it's still a fun year to watch. But fire Joe Barry for sure. I'm still like, you know,
This was going to be my next question. Like, where are you? Where are you with Joe Barry?
listen, we can do better. It's that simple. You can't tell me. Listen, we are a draft and develop team, and like, thank God Brian Gutekunst is a little bit more like, you know, active in terms of like using all the resources to build a team. But like, I love that we're a draft, you know, and develop team. Um, and but you know what I do think is that if you're going to be a draft and develop team, and we are a non-for-profit organization that is supposed to only care about investing back into the team, we should have the best coaches. We should overspend for all our assistant
Yeah,
coaches.
no salary cap on coaches.
And we shouldn't have like, and if the coach sure wants to build their team, but there should be some oversight. And we apparently have some oversight because like it should be our coaches should be challenged to hire the best team, not build a like a room of poker buddies who know football, because like these are all NFL coaches. Like Joe Barry clearly knows how to coach football. You know what I'm saying? He's probably brilliant when it comes to you know, knowing football and understanding the concepts. Every time he goes on the podium, we're all frustrated as Packer fans, but he opens his mouth and I'm thinking, oh hell, he knows way more than I do. Like,
Players love him. The other coaches love him. Like, he's one of those guys that in every community
yeah,
get people just like really like him as a guy.
yeah. But like he has clearly proven that, and what I seen, my guess is, and I don't know because I've never done it, but my guess is like as a defensive coordinator, the great ones know how to like use the players that they have and put them in positions to win. They have an instinct of
Yeah.
play calling. They have like there's a cadence, there's a knack for it, and there's a difference between understanding football and being able to coach high school and being a top tier defensive coordinator. And Joe Barry has proven to be an average defensive coordinator. And someone has to be held accountable for putting this much draft capital on the defensive side of the football and having this average of a defense. And, you know, I will say, if I was going to make one excuse for Joe Barry, is that I think this is a defense that was built to play from ahead.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
they can pass rush, they can cover pretty well. And if this was a defense that MVP Aaron Rodgers had, we'd be Super Bowl bound. You know, this would be a great defense for that. But like, it's not a defense for a first-year quarterback with receivers who like know a fraction of the playbook with an offensive line that's underperforming.
One of the things we talked about last time you were on was because we were both frustrated with Joe Barry was, and frankly, the offense with Aaron Rodgers was like, how much of this is on the feet of Matt LaFleur? And I asked you, like, is the bloom off the rose a little bit with him? Sorry, not to put a too fine a point on it with your rose connections, but just like, I find myself going, have I been a little too high on Matt LaFleur given the way that this season has gone? Has what we've seen here, both with Joe Barry and sticking with this stuff and with some of the offensive issues, has it changed the way that you view Matt LaFleur?
It's made me open to questioning the possibility that he's not the guy. But I'm not panicking. I think overall he's pretty good. I don't know why. You know, is it just a coincidence? Is it because he plays for Green Bay? Why is he the least popular, even though he's the best looking? And I don't know if that matters. Between Kyle Shanahan, McVay, and Mike McDaniels, he's like the fourth. Like he's like the you know, the one who just like was kind of not as mentioned. And he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but either has Kyle Shanahan, and Kyle Shanahan has been just
Mike McDaniel's been 1 year head coach. Come on.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan's just been just as unsuccessful in the playoffs. You know, Packers had some terrible injury luck, so like Matt LaFleur has like won some games. I'm definitely on the bandwagon of like, why do we have a soft team? We just do. I don't know what it is. We don't have it like I want to have the team like the Niners that were like for the past 2 years, if you play the Niners, you're losing the following week because you got your ass kicked,
Yeah.
and, I don't know what it is, but at the same time, we have been winners, but we just never been considered like rugged and tough. And listen, Matt LaFleur is just he's not one of those guys who's like, he's not your Detroit coach or whatever. But
Yeah,
like, I
he's
think
not he's not talking about biting kneecaps for sure.
yeah, but like, I think he's a student of the game. He sounds knowledgeable, and I think football is, I think those are the type of coaches in an offense that seem to have success.
All right, we're going to finish up here with our pal Nick Viall in just a second here on Locked On Packers. Prize Picks is the daily fantasy spot you have to be using. You can turn $10 into $250 in just a few taps because they pay out up to 25x, 25 times your money if you play it right. And to play it, it is incredibly easy. Just pick a couple players and you use the Prize Picks stat that they've picked for you. You don't even have to worry about it. So you can take passing yards for Patrick Mahomes. Guess what? He's probably going to put together more than the number. And so you put a couple players together and you pick if they're going to produce more or less, and you've got yourself a lineup. Now you can win up to 25 times your money. It could not be easier. You listen to this show, you're into football, you know what's going on. Use that knowledge. Put it to your use. Put it to your bank account's use. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's right, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy. That's Prize Picks. And thanks for making Locked On Packers your first listen every day. Every day, as we're back at it next week. So go check out in the meantime what we're doing over at the Leap.Football, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to, and Locked On Sports Today. It's our all sports show. Baseball, playoffs, basketball is about to kick off. All the stuff with football. Man, we're having a blast right now on Locked On Sports Today. Go find that wherever you get podcasts.
I have a question for you. This is a segue to that. But what do you make of the Kurt Benke stuff? Am I saying his name right?
Oh, Kurt Benkert.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, he's like the video. He's like a Twitch video.
Yeah,
Packer.
Yeah. I think that's a good way. That's a good way to describe him. I was not going to address it, frankly, because I just sort of felt like a fringe NFL player saying he did not vibe with his coach is kind of a non-story to me, because I'm just sort of like, okay, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but you're the fourth string quarterback, third string quarterback.
I weirdly related to it for. I doubt anyone.
Look, I think there's everyone relates to it on some level of just like, hey, me and my boss, we don't get along, and I understand that.
Oh, the opposite. I related in a different way. Like, and I don't know if anyone will care, but like for those who don't, like, my time on TV, people for who have gone on these shows like have very different experiences, and I'm someone who was on it quite a bit and spent a lot of time there. And I had other of peers were there for like a day, and they would be interviewed by someone and they would talk as like experts for things that from my perspective, they knew literally nothing about, because they could just say that I was there, I was there for a week, or I was there for a day, or I was there for an hour. And, have a lot of insight given the fact that they still had way more access than your average person.
Right.
And so they could sound really knowledgeable, but like to everyone else that knows more, they just roll their eyes. Yeah. And I kind of agree with you. It's just like, Kurt, like I'm thanks for your like breakdown of analysis of what you think on the Packers, but I don't think you get to like mouth off about your coach who's clearly not going to respond.
It was definitely a weird thing. I think he does a good job breaking down the game. He seems to be doing well, doing the other things that he's doing. And so look, if that's what you want to do.
Maybe Matt LaFleur didn't want his like, wasting a quarterback spot for a guy who like deeply wanted to like just be a Madden savant and a Twitch player, which is totally fine. And like, good luck to him. He could probably make a killing, like pop off. Like he could do the Pokemon thing that like
he
Martinez did.
He can, I think, probably make
Yeah.
way more money doing that than he can. Clearly, I mean, he had other teams. Let's just say other teams had chances to also take his insight that Matt LaFleur was not open to accepting. Other teams could have taken that insight, and they said, "Thanks, Kurt, but no thanks." So that's just.
But it's
neither here nor there.
Yeah, it's a
what
low
is
blow to publicly criticize him. I don't know. Anyways, you can.
I didn't love it, but look, do what you got to do, Kurt. I guess. The last thing I want to ask you is, as we look forward here the rest of the season, what are you trying to find? What are you hoping to see? Like they're probably not going to win the Super Bowl, right? So what are you trying to take out of the rest of the season now?
It's 100% about Jordan Love. That's all that matters, truly. Yeah. I mean, like, there's a bunch of other things I want to see happen. I want to see all these young receivers that like I'm super excited about. Like and that's the thing, like kind of to your point early, like they've all flashed. I mean, Musgrave is like, I think we all want to pretend he's flashed more than he has. Like, I don't know why this guy, and this was like something that was on his tape.
The team loves him.
Like, why can't he not fall down? What's his deal?
That is a weird one.
But like, yeah, like
I
love Matt LaFleur's optimism for him. I love an athletic tight end, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jalen Reed, Dontavian Wicks, super excited about. There's so, like, every one of these guys, there's a reason to get, like, to wonder, like, what if they're awesome? Like, I'm excited about all of them, and I want my offensive line to start playing as they should be, get it together, if nothing else, like, what's happened with the coaching of the offensive line? If Stenovich isn't calling plays, why don't you go back and fix the offensive line that you dominated when you were coaching that? But like, get your hands dirty. But at the end of the day, it's all about Jordan Love. Is he our quarterback? And I guess I bring up the other stuff because like they need to do their job so we as a franchise can evaluate our quarterback. Because back to my original point, if we're not blocking for the guy, if we have a bunch of receivers like going the wrong way 25% of the time, even if it's like PFF can't possibly know where these players were exactly supposed to go. And like, they're uncatchable balls. And I love their stuff, but I'm just saying like Jordan Love needs players. Aaron Rodgers had Jennings. He had Donald Driver. He had 2 Packer Hall of Famers playing at high levels in his first year, like, it's nuts that Jordan Love is playing. Jordan Love is by far the most knowledgeable guy on the team, and he's a first-year quarterback. It's nuts. So
it is crazy, but I think we will still see opportunities for the excitement that we felt in the preseason for this team, and so I think that there's still a lot. Look, they play 17 for a reason, right? They've only played 5.
Yeah.
Please, Nick, give the audience an opportunity to find all of the things that you're doing if they want to.
Well, Peter, I just wanted to say thanks for having me. It's always fun to get on. I just vent with you.
Yeah,
about my Packer stuff. But like you said, I mean, that's kind
of like how your show is, right? People come on. It's like they get things off their chest on your show.
Absolutely. But listen, to your point, the season is still young. This is Detroit. What are the Lions? They were like 0-7 or 1-7. I don't know. And they
just won 8 or 9 straight games or whatever it was.
Yeah, like Matt LaFleur talked about this team. How he was almost surprised how quick some of these guys picked up things. But I think he overestimated that. But I still think at the end of the day, we have some young, athletic, smart players who want to do well, and like they're going through the growing pains. Who knows? Maybe they pop off. So anyways, I'm excited. If you like listening to relationship and pop culture stuff, we have a great show called The Viall Files wherever you listen to podcasts. And on Twitter, where I'm here now, I tweet some Packer stuff, usually during games when I'm just venting and complaining. But yeah, anyways, thanks for having me, Peter.
Thanks, Nick. This has been a blast, man.
Always fun.
All right. Thanks to Nick for joining the show. Great to talk to him as always. We are back next week and back at it with football now for the rest of the season. So we get to have some fun. We get to grow with this young team as well. And that's the beauty of all of this. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers. And anytime you want to come hang out with us live, we will not be live this Sunday, but we will be live next Sunday. Go subscribe to us on YouTube so you can stay Locked On Packers.